Have you ever wondered how a conflict that began centuries ago still shapes the world today? An enduring question that finds relevance in the persisting Israel-Palestine conflict. A topic that has captured the global gaze, its complexities and nuances continue to unfold before our eyes. The world watched in concern as tensions escalated in October of 2023, an escalation that would have profound implications on human lives and international relations. A notable shift has been observed in the tide of public sentiment, particularly in America. Sympathy for Palestinians has been on a steady rise, especially among the younger generation and Democrats. This shift is not just a wave of empathy, but a potential harbinger of change in future policy decisions. The Israel-Palestine conflict, a topic of intense and often polarized debate, is far from a distant issue. It is a reality that continues to impact countless lives and shape the geopolitical landscape. Join us today as we delve into the events that unfolded from October 7, 2023. On October 7, 2023, tensions erupted once again in the Israel-Palestine conflict. The escalation began with an event that was as surprising as it was shocking. The Al-Aqsa Mosque, a revered sanctuary in the heart of Jerusalem, was raided by Israeli police. The sacred tranquility of the mosque was shattered, replaced by the cacophony of conflict. This event, occurring at a critical intersection of Ramadan and Passover, heightened tensions and led to a series of deadly incidents. In the days that followed, the streets of Tel Aviv and the landscapes near the West Bank were marred by violence. A car ramming in Tel Aviv and shootings near the West Bank added fuel to the fire, escalating the conflict to a new level. These events triggered a series of rocket exchanges, adding a terrifying new dimension to the situation. As these events unfolded, the world watched on, aghast at the escalation of violence. The initial reactions from the international community were a mix of shock and concern. There were calls for peace and pleas for restraint, but the situation on the ground continued to deteriorate. In the United States, sympathy for the Palestinians was at an all-time high, particularly among Democrats. This shift in public opinion was influenced by the power of social media and the voices of high-profile figures. However, despite this growing sympathy, overall favorability towards Israel remained strong, creating a dichotomy that would have far-reaching implications for future policy decisions. Meanwhile, in the political arena, former President Donald Trump, in a campaign speech, indicated a hardline stance on immigration and support for Israel, threatening to deport foreigners expressing support for Palestinians. This stance echoed the sentiments of other GOP candidates, further polarizing the situation. Little did the world know this was just the beginning. As the conflict intensified, so did the global response. Governments, organizations, and individuals worldwide began to react, with the United States playing a particularly pivotal role. Former President Donald Trump, always a controversial figure, did not shy away from this contentious issue. In a campaign speech in Iowa, he made clear his hardline stance on immigration and unwavering support for Israel. Trump threatened to deport foreigners, expressing support for Palestinians if he were to secure a second term. This stance extended to the academic realm as well, with Trump and other GOP candidates vowing not to welcome Palestinian refugees from Gaza into their campuses if they win in 2024. On the other side of the political spectrum, the Biden administration took a more balanced approach. Recognizing the human suffering on both sides of the conflict, the administration considered extending aid to both Israel and Palestinian civilians. The response from the administration highlighted the complex nature of the situation, acknowledging the need for support for Israel, while also recognizing the dire humanitarian situation faced by Palestinian civilians. In Congress, the response was equally mixed. President Biden urged lawmakers to pass an emergency funding package for aid to Israel and potentially for humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians. However, Republican lawmakers were divided on providing aid to Palestinians, with some arguing it would benefit Hamas. Meanwhile, House Democrats introduced a resolution calling for a ceasefire and aid to Palestinians in Gaza. Amid these political maneuvers, the American public began to shift their sympathies. Support for Palestinians was on the rise, particularly among younger generations, while overall favorability towards Israel remained strong. This shift in public opinion, influenced by social media and high-profile figures, hinted at potential changes in future policy decisions. The world watched in anticipation as the situation continued to evolve. While politicians debated, it was the civilians who bore the brunt of the conflict. The Gaza War of October 7, 2023, marked a devastating period of human loss and hardship for the people of Palestine, particularly in Gaza. Caught in the crossfire of tumultuous political agendas, the civilians found themselves grappling with the harsh realities of war. In the face of relentless conflict, the basic necessities of life became a luxury. Food and water were scarce, pushing the region into the clutches of starvation. Countless families were torn apart, their lives reduced to a fight for survival amidst the ruins of what once were their homes. The echoes of their plight resonated around the globe, sparking a wave of empathy and support. Back in the United States, the reverberations of the conflict were felt in educational institutions. Students and colleges faced backlash for their responses to the war. Some were praised for their empathy, others criticized for their perceived bias. Donors withdrew support from institutions, shaking the foundations of academic freedom and sparking conversations around the role of education in shaping public opinion. In the midst of this chaos, the potential for humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians emerged as a beacon of hope. President Biden's administration considered aid for both Israel and Palestinian civilians. An emergency funding package was proposed to Congress, aiming to provide aid to Israel and potentially humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians. This move, however, was met with mixed reactions. While some welcomed it as a necessary step towards easing the suffering of civilians, others questioned its potential misuse, fearing it could inadvertently fuel the conflict further. In the end, the Gaza war was not just a conflict between two nations, but a test of humanity's capacity for empathy and action. It was a stark reminder that the ripple effects of war extend far beyond the battlefield, seeping into classrooms, homes, and the hearts of people around the world. The conflict had far-reaching consequences, affecting lives far beyond the borders of Israel and Palestine. As the dust settled, the world was left to evaluate the aftermath of the Israel-Palestine-Gaza war. The conflict, which erupted dramatically on the 7th of October 2023, left a stark imprint on the region and the world at large. It was a war that not only claimed numerous lives, but also led to severe starvation in Palestine, Gaza. The aftermath was a sobering sight. Cities left in ruins, families torn apart, and an entire population grappling with the grim reality of their devastated homeland. This war was a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict, etching its mark in the annals of history as yet another chapter in the ongoing Israel-Palestine saga. In the wake of such devastation, one would expect an outpouring of international aid. However, the debate surrounding aid to Palestinians became a contentious issue. President Biden's administration considered extending aid to both Israel and Palestinian civilians. The proposition, however, was not met with universal approval. The Republican lawmakers found themselves divided, with some arguing that aid to Palestinians would indirectly benefit Hamas, a claim that further complicated the issue. On the other side of the aisle, House Democrats introduced a resolution calling for a ceasefire and aid to Palestinians in Gaza. The resolution, while a beacon of hope for some, was yet another reminder of the deep-seated divide on this issue, not just internationally, but within the United States itself. As we look back, we see a conflict that has not only shaped the geopolitical landscape, but has also influenced public opinion. The tide of sympathy for Palestinians among Americans, particularly among the younger generations and Democrats, is at an all-time high. This shift, while significant, is reflective of the broader changes in public opinion towards this long-standing conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict remains a complex issue, with no easy solutions in sight. As we continue to watch and hope for peace, we remember the events of October 7, 2023, and their lasting impact on the world.